passado para cá.
The number of people living in the streets has doubled since the beginning of the pandemic. Many here have lost their jobs and homes.
10 million Brazilians were already going hungry when the pandemic began. Now the situation is much worse. In January, the government suspended the emergency aid benefiting half of Brazil's population, just as infections began to spiral out of control, forcing new lockdowns. 180,000 people live in the Rocinha slum alone.
Last year we received 10,000 basic food baskets to distribute, but this year it was only 100. Donations dropped by 95%, and the number of people dying from COVID-19 is growing. I just lost 10 friends in 1 week.
And a pair of earthquakes has hit California this morning. A magnitude 4.0 quake hit near Lenox just 30 minutes after a 3.3 quake hit the same area.
Diane, people across Los Angeles were jolted awake in the early morning hours after a 4.0 magnitude earthquake hit near Inglewood, California. People are reporting small tremors and very significant shaking. Now, this happened just after a 3.3 quake in that same area, and it was followed by a 2.5 aftershock.
On Adonara, a community tries to come to terms with the devastation that hit their island. As victims are pulled from the mud, people crowd around to see whether it's their loved one that has been found. Many have been unable to contact family and friends, and hundreds of houses were destroyed. Everyone here has no choice but to start again.
I could not save anything. Everything is gone. I could only save myself.
The small island in East Flores was among the worst affected in the weekend's flash floods and landslides.
We got hit by this disaster. We lost everything. All we have are the clothes we are wearing.
The extreme weather was brought on by a tropical cyclone. As the storm system moves further away from the Indonesian archipelago, conditions are easing and authorities hope they will be able to bring in more help for the island.
What we need the most is heavy machinery. We have been asking for it from day one, but we know that some of the roads were cut off because of the disaster and the sea was rough, so we weren't able to bring it in at that time.
Some aid has arrived and the local government set up a public kitchen to help feed the community. But around the province, people need more food, water, face masks and other essentials.
Together with the military and social ministry, we are working and moving to show that we are here and helping people.
In neighbouring East Timor, the capital Dili experienced its worst floods in decades. Rescue crews are desperately trying to reach those most in need in remote areas and informal settlements, but conditions are challenging.
Many thousands of homes have been destroyed, roads have been cut off, and other infrastructures like bridges have also been destroyed. There are still many people trying to clean their homes. Of course, others who have lost pretty much everything. This actually, in my entire life, I have not seen something as bad as a recent rain.
The struggle was evident. When Islamic State fighters invaded the town of Palma in March, this hotel was raided too. A police officer said he found the reception overturned and rooms littered with victims' clothing.
This is a hotel that hosted many foreigners at the time of the attack. Many foreigners thought it was the best place to find protection, so they ran here. They had security, but the insurgents were stronger. They broke into the hotel and took 12 citizens of different nationalities, tied them up, and beheaded them.
Showing journalists around the hotel, he points to a patch of earth. He said he buried the bodies here, himself. This is only the latest offensive by ISIL-linked groups in Mozambique, and what has become an especially violent month. In a coordinated attack, insurgents seized Palma, this coastal town that lies close to a multi-billion-dollar liquid neutral gas project. It's crucial for the Mozambican economy. The assault claimed dozens of lives, while the UN says more than 11,000 were forced to flee. The northern province of Cabo Delgado has seen an increase in fighting since 2017. Some believe ISIL-linked fighters are trying to establish a caliphate here, but regional leaders say they won't let that happen. The violent escalation of an insurgency in the north of the country has sparked fresh concerns about security in southern Africa, a region that has enjoyed relative stability in recent decades. But with these recurring attacks, hope is scattered. Leah Harding, Al Jazeera.
The lush Caribbean island of St. Vincent transformed into a grey, gloomy moonscape. Streets and buildings blanketed by ash spewed from a nearby volcano. La Soufrière ended decades of inactivity on Friday when it erupted in spectacular fashion. There were several earthquakes, and a column of ash was pumped up to 15 kilometres into the air. And it's hampering the escape of thousands of people who are now in shelters across the island. La Soufrière means sulphur outlet. It's the only potentially active volcano on St. Vincent, which is home to about 100,000 people. Ash from the eruptions rained down on several neighbouring islands, including Barbados, nearly 200 kilometres away. Countries including Venezuela, Cuba, Guyana and the United States are sending aid to the island nation. Cruise ships have been sent in to help those fleeing the eruption, but because of the pandemic, anyone going on board will have to be vaccinated, and everyone in a shelter will be tested for COVID-19. There have been 5 explosive eruptions on St. Vincent in the past 300 years, but damage to crops and farms from the choking cloud of ash is expected to be severe.
We are agricultural-based community. And if this is going to be for the next 3-4 months, life would be very difficult for people.
And experts say the eruption could continue for some time yet. Alexia O'Brien, Al Jazeera.
These women share a common thread. Each one has lost her husband. After a decade of fighting, this camp is the place they call home. But for these survivors of war, making ends meet is tough.
We are a group of widows and I am one of them, and the situation is difficult. Life is difficult. I have 2 sick kids. I want to give them medicine.
Tens of thousands of women living here have no source of income and rely on aid from humanitarian organizations. These widows say women without children have it worse and find it harder to get support. But even with some child support, life is hard.
The month of Ramadan is also approaching. I want to be able to give them something new, a shirt or pants to make them feel happy. But we are not getting any aid. Widows are not getting any aid. We don't see anything.
Outside of Aleppo, in the city of Azaz, this Department of Family Council, in cooperation with international organizations, is trying to help. Fadi Al-Ahmad is a case worker and says the pandemic is making things worse.
Before the corona crisis, we were active in giving psychological support and guidance to the families of the orphans and the widows in Azaz, but now it is limited because of COVID.
The number of widows in Syria is increasing as fighting continues in parts of the country. Even after 10 years of war, they're struggling to patch up their lives. Leah Harding, Al Jazeera.